Gotta have an audience. Hey, everybody. It's Walt with On Air with Walt and our producer, Jeremy Stewart, in an undisclosed location.
Yes, right here in the studio, sound booth.
He's got a studio. I just have a studio apartment. So,
Awesome.
so hey, I'm in Southern California. So, we thought we'd have a little chat on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know. So, here we are. Thanks for joining us. And I'm Walt with On Air with Walt. I have been a podcaster since 2010. Jeremy tells me I'm one of the oldest podcasters, but don't tell anybody. My first show was called Money and Music, and it was in 2011 and 12. It was a true podcast. We actually broadcast, this is interesting, from Fred Warner's original office from 1923 in the original Warner Brothers building on the original Warner Brothers studio on Sunset Boulevard. It's a historical landmark. For those of you in Rio Lindo, it's historical. And what's funny about that is we were in Fred's office, and there was Fred and Jack Warner of Warner Brothers, and the office is probably about 20 feet square. It's a big office, and maybe 15, probably 15 feet square. But Jack and Fred Warner of Warner Brothers did not get along. One end of the building was Jack's office, and the other end of the building was Fred's office. So the two of them had all these little tiny offices in between. It was this two-story building. And you can see it. We drive by Sunset Boulevard. And again, it's the original Warner Brothers studio. Also, where Al Jolson sang the jazz singer, which was the original first talkie. And I think it was 1928. And it was on that studio a lot that it happened. So
wow.
It was fun. Wow. We did 80 shows. We had 9 Grammy Award winners. And we went viral or worldwide in 9 months. Had about 100,000 listeners a month, literally all over the world, including China and Australia, all over Europe. It was crazy. And nobody knew what to do with us. We were big, and nobody knew what a podcast was back in 2011 and 12. So we couldn't get sponsors. What's a podcast? Why would people want to listen to that? Why would? Gee, I wonder. So anyway, it was a fun experience.
So for all the viewers at home right now, here's the cool thing about this. This episode is about going into our background, our history. And that's cool that Walt just mentioned that, actually, because I was interested in knowing that for all you viewers out there. So for me, to you as a host, Walt, what piqued your interest in even doing podcast? What got you in actually the mentality to do
that? If you had even told me when I was in college, for crying out loud, I'd be doing this, I would have thought you were a Martian from another universe. Just no flipping way. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and went, I want to do this. I was actually, my parents I live in Orange County, and my parents live in LA. It's about a 45-minute drive. And when my father was alive, I go have dinner with my parents every Sunday night. Just, hey, it's free food. So my mom's a real good cook. So I was whizzing through AM radio, listening to whatever I could find. And I found this show called Straight Talk Wealth, and it was done by a guy named Bruce Whitey. And it was just Bruce babbling on about retirement stuff. And I heard like the last 15 minutes of the show, and I liked it. He said, we'll call in and, we want to chat. So I called the number, left a message, and he called me back. And I told him, I loved your show. I really resonate with me. And he goes, well, let's do lunch. And he'd never done that before. So he was using a third party to do the sales part, and he was just doing the radio part. And I said, well, how's it going for you? And he goes, it's not. I go, well, then why in the world are you continue to do it? Fire him, make me your sales manager, and, I'll be your co-host on the show because you've had co-hosts before, and we'll kill it.
Right.
Well,
right.
we wrote $8 million of annuities in a year, which was, 8 million more than he'd written like 2 years prior. So I would get about, people call during the show and leave a message. We wouldn't put them on air. They had an answering service for that. And I talked to about 15 or 20 people a week. And you can imagine if it's an hour plus hour and a half per person on the phone, that's a full-time job, just that. And we bring them into the office, and that was that. And you're getting the unabridged story here, folks. rest Bruce's heart. He's a great guy, but he didn't know when to quit. So I learned how to creatively interject his whatever he was saying on the show. We sat in Dennis Prager's studio in Glendale, where he broadcasts the syndicated show from 9 till noon every day. It was against Rush Limbaugh, and he was second behind Rush Limbaugh on AM radio Monday through Friday. And the Dennis Prager show, I think, is still going, but it was fun. And till the phone stopped ringing, we blew through the whole audience. And so, bing, that was that. And then I met a lady that pooped out about April, May of 12. And I met a lady in June of 2012. Her name was Victoria, and she wanted to do a podcast about money and music. I said, okay, let's do it. We started it in a really, 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 really tiny studio. Probably 8 people saw it at 3 a.m. on their website. And she goes, again, this is a funny story. And she goes, well, I'm going to find a better studio. I understand they're broadcasting on the Warner Brothers studio. And I go, oh, okay. And so she's 5'11", platinum blonde, drives a little blue CRK Mercedes. She literally stormed the studio. It's one of the studios that got the 2 gates and a guard with a clipboard. She didn't care. She stormed it. Probably couldn't do it. She said she probably wouldn't be able to do it again. Got in, parked, found the studio at the Warner Brothers place, and they looked at her. How in the hell did you get in here? Wouldn't you like to know? So long story short, we met with the owner, Tony Sweet. He still has, it's called UBN, Universal Broadcasting Network. And he's broadcasting to Burbank, which I've done exclusively until now, virtual. And about 2 months later, we started, and we're in Fred Moore's office. So it was a great show. And we had one of the fun shows we had was Philip Springer, about a month before Christmas, who was the original and final Tin Pan Alley composer. And he was in studio with his daughter and 2 grandkids, and he was in his mid-80s. And he had written a song in the 50s called Santa Baby.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And they had just renewed the residuals on it. And he said his grandkids could go to any college they wanted to in the country and it would be no problem. I mean, it was one of the top 10 Christmas songs ever written. And he tells a story. It's the middle of July, hotter than the blazes in New York City. And he's talking to Eartha Kitt, who was sang the song, and he co-wrote it. I don't know how I'm going to write a song in the middle of July, man. Why don't we do it later? Earth's going, dude, we got to write the song. We got to press the records. We got to promote it, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be ready way before Christmas. Oh, okay. So they wrote it, and he was a collaborator his whole life. And obviously it was a fun interview. So that was probably the 5th or 6th show we did. Let's see, August, September, October. No, maybe the 9th. But anyway, and they're all the shows are actually on our website, www.onairwithwalt.com. You go to little hamburger on the top right corner. You go to past shows, and all those shows with all the with Philip Springer and all the jazz performers are there. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I picked on Wall Street a lot. That was the money part.
Awesome.
I remember one story. Apple had just come out with Apple Maps, and it was an absolute complete boondoggle disaster. People were getting downtown San Francisco on Apple Maps. It was crazy, and they blocked Google Maps on there. And Apple finally figured out, forget it. We're just going to use Google Maps. The first day that they released Google Maps to be available download on Apple, on the iPhones, literally 10 million? 10 million people downloaded the app.
Wow.
It's a lot. 10 million. And Apple said the 2 guys, hey, just tell the world you screwed up with an F and, all will be well. One guy said, okay. And the other guy said, hell no. Well, one stayed and one didn't. Probably one other funny story. This is crazy. It was since 2012. We picked a lot in the political candidates that year. But there was a captain of a very large cruise ship bouncing around Mediterranean, and he wanted to impress his girlfriend on this big ass cruise ship, and she was on the shore, and he take the cruise ship, and he got too close to the shore.
Okay.
The sucker was beached on the shore. It capsized a little bit, and 9 people died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these are the kind of stories we found. And he got in big ass trouble, and I think he got convicted and stuff. But yeah, it was not kosher. He's trying to impress his girlfriend with his big cruise ship. You know, it's not a little tiny sailboat, dude. It's a ginormous cruise ship. So the stories we found, it was a lot of fun. So that went from there. I had a guest on, I found in a marketing meeting called Dr. Judy, who was a clinical psychologist. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to be in the radio." And she finally convinced me to do it. So about August of 2012, we started on Dr. Judy WTF for What the Freud. Now, on our Money and Music show, we had a little joke and a shtick called a Martini Meltdown, and we'd make up a martini every week just to be funny. One of them was Herman. I'm trying to remember his first name. He was a presidential candidate in 2012, and our engineer had made a French accent, and he was the chauffeur for Herman Cain's limo and he had 2 ladies in there, and everybody goes, "How do you know that?" Well, just stay tuned to the show, you'll find out. What's funny is we did that as a joke, and about 3 or 4 weeks later, it turned out he was busted for being busy with 3 ladies.
Oh, shit.
So humor imitated life with us not knowing it by the time he had to bow out of the election. I mean, it didn't have much of a chance anyway. And he was he started some pizza outfit. I can't remember which one it was. So he sold pizzas for $9.99. I remember which one it was. But anyway, so that was our joke. So I told Judy, I said, we need a shtick for our Dr. Judy WTF show. And she said, well, how about Shrink That Tune? Because she was a psychologist. Well, how does that work? So I pulled up a song. I think it was the Rolling Stones. She goes, read the first stanza. I go, okay. She goes, from a psychological perspective, that means blah, blah, blah. And then read the second stanza. That means blah, blah, blah. So we shrunk a lot of songs. We had a lot of fun with Pink, Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift, any musician. Adele, that was a fun one. It was when her song Hello came out.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And she goes, well, I don't know if I can use that song, because that's one thing we argued about. She found one song one time for one show. She goes, you like to have the song resonate with the show. And I didn't care. I mean, if it's a big song, let's do that. So she goes, well, I don't know about this Adele song. I don't know if I can do it. I said, Judy, in the song, it says, I've called you about 1,000 times. She goes, I can run with that. I go, yeah. So that's how we fit into the show. And it was very well received. We had about, I don't know, toward the end, and I really wish I had screenshotted it. I wasn't that sophisticated back then. It ended in 2017. I did 200 shows over 4.5 years. I was actually doing the analytics for YouTube, and it said the aggregate number of hours that have been watched over the previous 28 days was 710,000 hours.
Wow.
And I went, well, that's a big number, divided by 12, divided by 60, right? Because 60 minutes in an hour, it was almost 12,000 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Alone. So it got pretty big. And we found a niche pretty early on about narcissism. And so my joke was we became very narcissistic about narcissism. And we did everything about narcissistic parents, narcissistic mothers, narcissistic fathers, children of narcissists, helicopter parents. Oh man, and I would create the show live on air every week. I do research for about 3 hours. I didn't have between 20 and 35 pages of notes, and I would exchange the cameras, because at that time we had cameras in the call-ins periodically. Later on, we had a lot of call-ins, and I was actually creating the show with the 55 minutes time we had with the song every week, and pulled it off.
Wow. So were you ever like, when you first get into podcasting, were you nervous or you just jump into it?
That's funny. Well, when I did Money in Music, there were three of us, and it was just a podcast. So I just had a microphone in front of me. So I was a little bit nervous, but about the fifth or sixth show, it didn't matter. And I remember one time we were just starting the show, and somebody said something, and I was on my phone looking up some news or something, and I thought, this is weird. I'm not nervous. We're going to start and do this, and away we went. And then when I did Dr. Judy, and I was literally brought the content. I handed her one piece of paper every week, and that was the lyrics of the song. I had every bit of the content, and I'm sitting there, going through pages while we're talking about whatever, and I'm looking at the clock, going, okay, we've got 20 minutes left, and I've got this and this and this story. I think we can fit this and this one in, or news article or whatever, and I fit it all together and did it live every week.
Wow.
No, I wasn't nervous anymore. I don't have time to.
I think it's a thing. I think there's something for a lot of podcasters out there, people watching, the viewers here who get into podcasts. One of those things where I've known Walt for quite some time, and watching his previous shows and shows he does now, many people I've talked to have said Walt has just a natural radio voice. He has that natural projection to it. What advice would you give to new podcasters who are getting into the game as far as how to control themselves, or to what would you give them advice on as far as how to get into it and what to do?
Well, let me back up. My perspective on the show, on it with Walt specifically, as I tell people, it's a guest-oriented show, and it's not about me, it's about the guest. I get my 2 cents in, and I'm here to learn as much as I can about the guest. And if you watch my shows, that's what I do. And so my ego's not in it at all. And I get in it I had one guy I talked to, and he wanted to start one, and I said, just start, just start. I'm in sales, and we'll maybe talk about that. And then my cliche phrase is, you cannot steer a parked car.
Right.
Okay. You can have a Ferrari sitting in your driveway, and you start it up, and you're sitting there giving it the gas, and the engine's going vroom, vroom, vroom. But if you don't back it out of the driveway and start driving down the street, how fun is that, right? You're just sitting in the driveway, and so you're gonna maybe hit a curb, and you're driving a Ferrari, or you're gonna hit a car, or you're gonna hit a signpost. But you know what? You make some minor adjustments, and boom, you're just jamming down the road. Just start. So this guy said, okay, I'm gonna start, and he called me like 4 or 5 days later. It was, Walt, I was sitting on a buddy's couch. You told me to start. I started a channel, and I did a little 10-minute doodad right then, right there on his couch. And he said, I got 100 views in a week.
Wow.
Which frankly, I'm going, that's impressive, dude. That was great.
Yeah.
What happened, but so, just be yourself. And I've never had a script or anything. I've had an outline, of course, but I've never had a script, and we'll just start and do it. And it's just you and the camera initially. There's nobody else there. So, and as I said, people told me I had a great voice. I whisper sometimes, and people can hear it across the room, which is scary.
Right.
And a friend of mine told me there was a class for voiceover. So I thought, well, heck, I'll do that. It was called Del Mar Media Arts. They were in Irvine, in Orange County. And it was Bud and Bunny. They were a married couple, and they've been doing this for years. So I went down there and said, hey, man, I want to, learn voiceovers and, all this jazz. So it was, well, we'll have to audition you. I'm going, oh, okay. So I went into about a 8-foot square room, had black foam, like what you've got in your background. And I've got headphones on and this little script in front of me with a stand. And it was the first, was it? Yeah, it was the first time I'd actually heard my voice in headphones.
Oh, okay.
And that was surreal. This is how I sound? Ooh. So I went through a few of those courses and had a good time with it. And then I, got on then started Money in Music, and then off we went. So yeah, it was before 2011 I took those classes. And having no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to do it or whatever, I just did it and said, heck, I'll just get the information and the experience and we'll go from there. So it paid off.
Right. Right on. Right on. I think, I mean, it's a really cool thing too, is the audience to understand something as far as what got On Air with Walt going kind of in the first place. I met Walt through a mutual friend, and I'll let Walt kind of elaborate on this story as well. But a mutual friend of mine, who actually was my previous music manager in entertainment, we were having a conversation one day about opportunities for music and things and shows and things like that. And he had the desire one day out of nowhere. He hadn't spoken to Walt in a long time. Reached out to Walt out of nowhere, and then he calls me. Our mutual friend calls me and says, "Hey, call my buddy over in California. He's involved in this, this, and this. Get a hold of him." And I'm thinking, well, who the hell is this guy? And so a few days later, I get a hold of Walt.
Well, I think I called you.
You might have called me first.
Yeah, I called you because I was driving down the road. I'm a little intuitive, and I was just driving down I remember I was going north of the 405 freeway, and he wanted me to call this guy. He was a guest on my Money and Music show. It's amazing how many contacts I made and still have from that show. It's nuts. It's like, wow, I've known that guy for how long? And I said, and he's kind of a long-winded guy. And I just was not in the mood to have a long-winded conversation. And I was going back and forth with myself in the car. I finally said I call him, and he said, "Hey, call my buddy Jeremy." I think we had like a 3-hour conversation, 2.5, 3-hour conversation our first time.
Yes,
so, we headed off, and that was the genesis of the original On Air with Walt.
Yeah, it was crazy because when Walt called me, we had a chat about just all kinds of things in life and society going on at the time, including COVID at the time. And
that's
we
right.
seemed to hit it off and had very similar mentality and ideas. And I told Walt I was a musician, I'm an artist, I did not know that Walt was actually into radio or podcasting. I was like, "Hey, Walt, what would it cost to go on the radio show and actually do an interview, whatever?" "Well, here's the cost of it, I get to thinking, well, hell, why don't you just do your own damn show? I'm like, just do a show yourself where you can have guests on there of all types, artists, musicians, comedians, whoever you want on there on your own show." Within I think it was 3 months after that.
I went back with Tony, and UBM was right across. Those Burbank, it's literally about 5 doors down from the Smokehouse, which is an old restaurant. You should look it up, Jeremy. I mean, Frank Sinatra was there, and I mean all these guys. I mean, it's an old from the 40s steakhouse. It's a cool place. Have you looked it up?
Yes, I have. Yes, it's crazy.
Really cool place.
Awesome.
It's literally right across the street from your Warner Brothers. And so I had 55 minutes, and that's what we did. And now we're virtual, and my comment is we can go 5 minutes, or 15 minutes, or 2 hours.
Right. I think it's the cool thing. The beauty of that is, though, is going from UB & Go to now virtual through your own platform. It allows guests to have more time if they want to. You don't have to be rushed. If they have a conversation or a story, we get to hear more about the guests now. I want to ask you personally, as a producer, obviously we've all had some great guests in the show. I mean, Repo Rick, Mark Berry, David Altman. We've had a lot of great guests on here. What have you learned as far for yourself as a person, and all the guests on Honor with Walt on exclusives? What is some of your favorite topics or moments you've had from all the shows?
I actually enjoyed the referral I got from Oliver C. Brown, who was the percussionist for Casey and Sunshine Band. Alvin Taylor, he's a drummer, and his story was amazing. You guys should check it out. But he was 15 years old, a bellhop and a busboy at the largest hotel in Palm Springs in 1965, and he was learning to play the drums. Right. And they had a little trio band in the bar, and he back then even knew that the drummer was a raging alcoholic, and one of these days he was going to not be able to play the drums. So he auditioned. They go, "You're a good kid, good to go. Well, we'll keep it in mind." 3 weeks later, he said he was just doing his thing. They said, "You're up, kid." Up for what? The drummer is comatose on the floor. Go play the drums. So he did. And who should walk into the restaurant but Frank Sinatra and Little Richard in 1965? And to quote Alvin, who quotes Little Richard, "Ooh-wee, that boy should have been those drums. And so he chased literally him all over the restaurant. He goes, I'm 15 years old. He goes, so what? We get you a tutor, we get you a guard, you're amazing. I want you to part of my band. He goes, well, let's go talk to mom. So we talked to mom. And mom goes, he's 15. And Alvin goes, we're going to pay him this much money. And mom goes, oh, that's more than my mortgage. Okay. At 70 some odd years old, he's still in Palm Springs. He's still killing it. I think he played on 70 double platinum albums, which is big.
Yeah.
It's a lot of albums.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy. I think a lot of the guests that have been on there have had very interesting stories and their history behind it, especially Oliver C. Brown. I mean, just the man that you've met, I've met him. It's incredible the stories he's had with musicians he's worked with, the history he has, stories I've personally heard off camera. It's just fascinating the guests we brought on to the show, and Mark S. Berry as well. I mean,
yeah, he's an amazing producer. He's been doing it for 50 years. Well, Mark S. Berry's background was really interesting. And this is when you interview these people and you learned about them. Is in 1971, he was 17 years old and did not want to be going into Vietnam. And he was studying to be a music engineer. So he went through all his albums in his place, parents' house in New York, and said, "Fooey, I'm going to England." So he literally started knocking on studio doors. He ended up, and I don't remember the name of the studio, but it was the one where George Martin and some guy named Paul McCartney were hanging out after Apple Records broke up. And he was the second engineer. Now, granted, it's not a whole heck of a lot of a responsibility. He's just moving mics around and doing this, that, and the other. But he was on the second engineer. And it's really sad because I was on YouTube and I played You're So Vain by Carly Simon on there. But YouTube, of course, from a copyright perspective, blew it out. But he had headphones on and he's listening to the show. And it did exactly what I thought. It would all come back. Well, I remember this and this and in the second stanza, before they recorded the second stanza, there was some guy named Mick that was bouncing around the studio. And he goes, well, I want to sing. So you can actually hear Mick Jagger the second stanza of You're So Vain. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I promise I won't tell anybody. I'm not going to say now. The song is not about anybody you think so. It was another dad. Well, I thought it was interesting as well. Carly Simon, dad, was Simon of Simon & Schuster, which is one of the largest book publishers in the world. And most people don't know that, but that's how she got her start in Chicago, with Simon & Schuster, because daddy was Simon. And so there was another guy who had a very successful magazine in town that really was after her, and she was not interested.
Right.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There's a guest I really enjoyed. You actually knew before I did. We both know who Repo Rick is.
Oh, I met Repo Rick through a mutual friend, and during COVID, he was actually doing boxing in Tijuana. So during COVID, I literally drove down to Tijuana more than once. The first time, it was at one of the 5-star, however that's defined in Tijuana, hotels in downtown Tijuana. And they were in the basement in this big meeting room, and there was a big boxing rink right in the meeting room, and it filled up like, I don't know, 3/4 of it. And what's funny is there was only probably about 100 people in the room, the boxers, and they were doing their thing, and they were actually broadcasting it somewhere in Tijuana, in Mexico. But there were 3 cartel kingpins in the room. You see that guy, the bald guy over there? Yeah, cartel. See that guy over there chomping on a cigar? Yeah, cartel. See that guy over there? That's cartel. Okie doke.
Wow. It's shit like that you don't hear every day.
Pardon?
It's shit like that you don't hear every day.
No. So I'm looking around going, okay, 3 cartel guys, they're competitors, but they're in here just watching boxing. Yep. Someone chomping on cigars, smoking the cigars with their entourage. It was pretty interesting.
Now, for the viewers at home, to see you guys who knew Repo Rick is, Walt, please tell them about Repo's history in boxing and some of the great boxers, legends he knows.
Oh gosh, you probably know the boxers more than I do. Repo, way back in the day, had bought a tow truck in Fresno, where he's got a place. and he thought this would be a piece of cake. Well, it turned out it was really competitive, and he could hook up and tow a car. I think he said in about 5 to 7 minutes. Just pull it up, connect it, boom, boom, I'm done and out. So he became really well known for, if you want a car to be taken, if you will, repoed, call it Repo Rick, and the name stuck. And he had his first boxing match there in Fresno, and this guy is a hustler. And he went to Home Depot early in the morning and at night with flyers, 6 in the morning, because all the contractors and stuff, which I guess that's the audience, they like boxing, just pushing and throwing flyers in their hands. And the response was ginormous and put them on the map.
Right. Keep in mind, Repo Rick is best friends with the Mayweather family, Holyfield, Tyson. There's all these major legendary boxers from years back, as well as musicians he's known for years. In fact, Repo has shared with me, MC Hammer. He's known, oh my gosh, Notorious B.I.G. I mean, Easy E from back in the old days. He's been around for a long time. And I met him through Walt, actually. Great guy, just very knowledgeable of entertainment, sports, and music both.
If you his hat's in my car. His outfit's called Whoop Dat Ass, WHOOPDATASS, and the SS is $. And you can actually go to YouTube and punch in Whoop Dat Ass and hear his song.
Yeah, it's a great song, actually. It's a really cool song.
It is. It's a little rap song. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's the beauty I think of for me is with On Air is with this show is that all the guests we've had on here have such different stories and backgrounds. There's not one particular category. It's not just this or that. It's been a plethora of stories, from like Chris Ramsey with near-death experiences, musicians like Mark Berry, Oliver Brown, all the way to boxing like Repo Rick, to psychologists, and people of just different backgrounds and different professions. I think that's the beauty of On Air with Walt exclusive, especially is exclusives giving people the opportunity who have not been heard to get out there and be heard now. Especially with original show On Air with Walt. Explain to the audience, if you would, in your opinion, what On Air with Walt does different than exclusives, or how that continues, in your opinion.
Well, again, as I said, it's just a guest-oriented show. So, I mean, I'm not limited to any genre or any particular individual. I mean, if they have a story and they've got experience, let's hear it.
Right.
And since I'm oriented to, in my mind, since I've done over 450 podcasts, I'm really geared toward an hour show because that's what I did forever at UBN. So, and so most all but one have been about an hour. So it's not like it's going to go on and on and on. So,
but 450 shows. I mean, that kind of a resume. Like, damn, has like Joe Rogan had that many shows?
Oh, he's had way more than that. He's
really.
Wow. He's been there forever. No, he's got way more than that. I'm sure you or I could look it up, but yeah. And I listened to Joe about 5 years ago. I was driving to Vegas and said, "Oh, let me hear what this guy Joe Rogan's about." And I got to be honest, I thought he was obnoxious. He was interviewing Giorgio from Ancient Aliens. The guy with the hair. It's not about aliens, but it's about aliens.
Right.
So. And I mean, Joe was just all over the map and really didn't even let the guests speak. And I'm thinking, wow, our styles are so different. And I thought he was so obnoxious, but he has calmed down. He's moved to Texas and he's way improved, obviously. And he's kicking it and taking names.
Right. I think it's the cool thing about your show again is that you make it all about the guests, though. Your questions about the guests, wanting to hear their story for the audience, and and I'll be honest with you viewers out there. Sometimes I go to Walt with a new guest. As a consultant, I'll go out there, I'll find guests all over social media. Say, hey, you're a singer. Hey, you do this. You're a film producer. You do this, and we'll be on the show. We're like, well, who are you? And I'll say, well, here's the show. On Earth Walt, he's the host. And literally, I'll bring guests to Walt and say, "Hey, here's a guest. You're interested in interviewing this person?" He's like, "Sure, let's have them on." And then a week later, we have them on the show. And I just constantly find guests on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. And it's just the goal for me is to find the guests that have a story, have a talent, have something to speak about to share with all of you guys, the viewers and the audience, so that they can get their word out there. But it's always something new for you guys to listen to, something entertaining. And so it's always like, well, it's probably like over here, like, what the hell? Who is this now? And I literally brought over a guest from LinkedIn to Walt not too long ago, who was about the Anunnaki. And that show was freaking awesome. That show was awesome. And the guy messaged me.
Mad Mark Jones. He has his own channel, which is finally getting some traction after 9 months on his own.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I used to do co-host a show called Truth Be Told. The byline was where we believe in experience become truth. And we did stuff on aliens and extraterrestrials and Bigfoot. We had a whole show on Bigfoot. So I wasn't, and I know Linda Moulton Howe, and of course David did as well. She's huge and has done stuff for years. She's in New Mexico. But I do research. One of my secrets is I literally research every show. I refuse to go on air and do anything unless I've got a working knowledge and awareness of what they've done or their background and their experience. So I come prepared. I'm not one to wing it. I'll wing it, but I've got it all up here. So yeah, the Anunnaki with Mad Mark was interesting. And he was a little controversial in his perspective, but that's all right. I had no problem with it.
Right.
With Anunnaki, which may be still here and hanging out in Antarctica, and maybe have built the pyramids and a few other things.
I mean, it's really cool. It was interesting because having Mad Mark on there, and then literally David H. Altman.
Yeah, I gotta have the H.
Some of the topics as far as the whole kind of the UFO thing, the alien thing going on. That was a cool thing, especially since he worked with like William Shatner and like the Skinwalkers and things like that.
Yeah, Skinwalker Ranch was a really interesting one. I saw the show on History Channel. He hadn't, but he put guests on there and knew, of course, the owner of Skinwalker, who's a real estate developer. Very, very, very interesting. And David and Mark, both individual of each other on their own in their backyard, have seen a UFO.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. They both had. So that's interesting, and he's doing some other projects. He's worked with J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg, and it'll come to me in a minute. The other director, big one. So,
oh yeah, a lot of great connections they both have, and it just, to me, it's like, it was crazy when we launched exclusives like that. It was the type of guests we've had pop out. It's just been a variety, but still. David Altman and Mad Mark kind of were in a similar vein as far as extraterrestrial environment and Anunnaki, things of that nature. It was just kind of a cool thing to go from those two. And I'll say shout out to Chris Ramsey, by the way.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
The big line I loved from Chris was, he was a medical mess and had a near-death experience. And turns out, from my research, 9 million people in the United States alone may have had a near-death experience, NDE. And he said one thing that I know he lives by now. He says, I was a nobody till I became somebody for everybody.
There you go. Right. Yes. That was so cool.
That's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's a t-shirt.
Yes, it is. It's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because for the viewers out there right now, I personally want to dive in really quick with Walt here about Walt's history with, as far as like the near-death experience brings this up to me. So obviously near-death experiences can suck and some people don't come back. Some people do, obviously. But I want to touch on something that Walt does very, very well, in my opinion. He's taught me a lot about. He's been my mentor when it comes to like this. But Walt has been very experienced, has expertise with insurance, and how he helps people to, in my opinion, protect their money and protect their family for longevity. And I think people hear insurance are like, oh crap, insurance again. But no, you have to understand though, what Walt teaches and does is not just about, hi, this is Allstate. Da, da, da. No, it's more thing where Walt teaches how to protect yourself and your assets and your longevity for you and your family. Well, if you would be so kind as explain to them what you do with insurance and how it's beneficial for their life.
Well,
For their
thanks for
future.
asking. I've been in the business. That's my day job still. Did it for 4 decades, and I've for the last 25 years I've done retirement, and my byline is help people to have the ability to retire, and more importantly, stay retired. And that's one of people's very biggest fears is running out of money, and it's a real fear. It's a legitimate one. And I was involved with Wall Street and doing all that jazz. And I just walked from Wall Street in 2001 because, from my perspective and seeing it from the inside, um, it's all about risk, fees, and speculation. And for me, if I want to have retirement, that's the three things I don't want having in my retirement. Something risky, something's got a lot of fees, going to chew your retirement. I had one client that 50% of their withdrawals were gobbled up by the insurance company that was taking their money. It was a certain type of an investment that's just horrid. They literally, over 50% of what they had pulled out over 4 years went to the insurance company, the investment company. It was nuts. And I was able to give them a 25% increase in income immediately, grow at 5% per year, and never ever running out of money, and even with what was left, and even with what was left if they had to work with. And that was, I mean, it was not, looked at this. The minute I saw the company, I went, oh no, these guys are in something that's going to kill them in fees. Well, I was wrong. I literally wiped them out in fees. So anyway, so there's ways to beat Wall Street without risk fears and risk fees and speculation. And because I have a mutual friend that we've got, we make jokes about my guy. My guy's going to help me. Well, I'm here to tell you, your guy can't. He's simply working for, it doesn't matter, pick whatever house you want. He has to sell what they tell him to sell. And I'm here to tell you that what's best for the firm is best for them. And that's not how I operate. It's not best for the firm. It's best for the client. And there, again, I'm client oriented. I'm not firm oriented. And so, because I mean, I'll get technical for one thing. When I did my Straight Talk Wealth show, Bruce came up with this analogy, and he's right. If you retire, and in the first 5 years of your retirement, you simply have a 15% drop in your portfolio, and you're expecting your portfolio to last you to your age 90, you're going to lose 13 years of income at the back end because you're pulling money out of your plan. You're not putting money in. And once you're retired, you don't have any more resources to put money in. That's what you've taken your whole life to generate. And it's supposed to last you your whole life, your entire life. And my question is, if you have it wanting to last you to your age 90, do you really want to go back to work at age 77?
Right.
All it takes is 15% crash. Next year, we have a mutual friend who's a huge technical analyst.
Yep.
Who has been spot on in the last 25 years in terms of his projections. We're due for a correction, if you will. They always say they're trying to couch it as a crash. And we haven't had a major one since 2008. So we're due. We're overdue. I mean, prior to 08, we used to have 3 down years and 7 up years. And that was just how it worked. I mean, every 10 years, you had 3 downs. Well, we're overdue for a lot of reasons beyond the scope of the show. So if you really want to make sure, even if it's just a portion, it's up to you. Check it out. So
yeah, what to say?
I'm all over the country. So I'm here in California, and so I've got clients here, of course, but it doesn't matter where you are. It's all good.
Right. And I'll point that to your audience out there, the viewers and listeners. Walt is a mutual friend of ours who will remain anonymous right now. He is a phenomenal analyst. I talked to myself on the phone numerous times, and What I can tell you is that, and Walt knows this as well as I do, he studied what's called wave theory and can analyze things through wave theory, which was Heisenberg, Elliott, and Tesla, and like a few others, right?
Well, no, Fibonacci is a big one.
There you go. Yeah.
I did the 13 shows. He decided to be more anonymous when we pulled him, but Heisenberg is his one secret ingredient that most technical analysts don't use. And every time he had one guy he spoke with who was a physicist, and he was doing technical analyst, but he never even thought about adding Heisenberg as a wave theory and looking at, he does the split theory, which is that's a very interesting theory in terms of projecting what's going on. And what technical analysis means is you look at a graph. It doesn't matter whether it's unemployment, it's a stock market, could be anything. And that leaves clues. And there's different waves that happen in the graph. And you can forecast where it's going to go. And we did, I think it was 13 shows. And he did stuff with like Target and PayPal and a few other companies. And 1 week ago, it's going to go here on this date. And he was never wrong.
Right. In fact, one of the things he said to me and you actually was that he told us actually on a show was that he predicted 3 different major corporations. And he told us 1 month what was going to happen with it in the next month or two. And sure as shit, those 3 companies, their stocks just plummeted. And he predicted that on the show and said it was going to happen. And he used wave theory to predict that. And from my personal talks with him, he said, this is how I do it. And it's something that's in nature. People don't understand wave theory. It's in nature that if you look at the trees, the leaves on the ground.
Fibonacci more than any of them. Yeah, it's a fun wave.
The snowflakes.
The distance between your hand, your elbow, your finger. I mean, tree branches and all that jazz. It's all Fibonacci.
It's all literally coded in nature. And our mutual friend studies this stuff and knows exactly what's going to happen. So he studies the market and knows where it's going to go. And so it's kind of goes along with what Walt's telling you guys about the whole insurance thing as far as how to prepare yourself for when. And if I'm wrong, correct me, but Walt can actually help you guys to where if the market goes up, help you make money. If the market crashes, you won't lose money, correct?
That's right. What I like to use the analogy, if those of you who are football fans, the best offense in football is a good
defense.
And so what this is a defensive play when the market is going down and a very big offensive play when the market goes up. I had one guy I was working with before the crash of 08. He was a teacher, and in June, he was retiring. He was in his mid-60s. And he says, my guy's going to help me, and I'm fine. I go, okay, knock yourself out. Well, December, he called me. I don't know why, but he did. He goes, Walt, I'm really sorry I did not call you and work with you because obviously with the 40% drop in my portfolio, I have to wait to retire. And he was all set to retire when the market crashed. And for me, that's a mental blow, a emotional blow, as well as a financial blow. And it took him 7 years to recoup what he lost in one day.
Wow. That's a hit. That's a hard hit.
Big hit.
Wow.
It doesn't matter whether you take, we'll finish with this. My point is take a portion of what you have. Nobody's saying you have to do it all. And if you've got, because everybody has this rate of return in their head they would need to make. Okay, fine. Well, if you know that that portion is taken care of, no matter what happens in the market, that gives you 2 options in my view. One, the ability to be more aggressive, because if you lose it, you still have the what you've in it to fall back on, or to not be under pressure to get that rate of return, and it gives you peace of mind knowing that I can do more things and have more options, knowing that I've got a majority of my retirement taken care of, and if I win big, great. If I don't, I'm still going to be okay.
Right. Would you advise this information for any age range though, or is it just more for?
I primarily work with people that are approaching retirement or in retirement, because that's, they've taken their entire life to acquire what they have. And the last thing, and again, this is it. They're flipping the switch. They're retired. They're going to pull money out, and that's where we're at. And again, if they lose, it's going to be hard. because, again, they can't get it back, and they can't put more in because they're retired and they're pulling money out.
Right. So what's your advice then for like somebody in college age that's younger, has a 9-to-5 job, but they want to for their future? What do you advise for
Well,
them?
there are ways that I do a lot with more investing in retirement income, but there are ways to have money that you can put in that's got some liquidity, and the income at the back end is completely free of income tax.
Oh, nice. Okay. Perfect.
So if you want to pull out, $50, $60, $70,000 a year out of the plan, and that's not pie in the sky, it's very, very realistic. All of it is free of income tax. And Uncle Sam isn't involved in the lease, and it's none of their business. So
You guys listen out there, you just heard it from Walt right there. And Walt's company, he has, go ahead, Walt, what's your company?
Well, it's Retirement Fortress. I sponsor the show, and you can go to retirementfortress.net, or you can just give me a direct call all over the country, 888-999-9258.
Tell you right now, I'm 41 years old, guys. I'm an artist and consultant entrepreneur. I've known Walt for a long time. He's mentored me on all these things. And right now that we've had many conversations about what he does as profession-wise, literally his 9-to-5. I think what he has to offer, not only the podcast and for you guests, for your talents, but to help you guys as talented people to make money, save your money, invest your money properly. Even if you're just, to me, if you're a talent of any kind, you're making that money. You look at all these NFL stars, all these NBA stars, all these musicians out there who make all this money, and they go broke within a few years. They just throw their money away. But if you had the knowledge and a heart of guide like Walt can do for you, I'm not trying to sell Walt right now. I'm just being honest with you guys. If you have something like that in your corner, you say, hey, okay, you just made $500,000. Instead of blowing it away on this, and this, what do you invest it at? Walt can show you how to do that. And I can tell you myself, from me and Walt's discussion and his mentorship to me, when he's talking about this, it's like, it's a no-brainer. Why risk losing all your money? Like Walt said, one of our friends told us the economy is going to go to shit here in the next first quarter of 2026. The economy is set to go to shit. We're seeing it right now a little bit with all the shutdown stuff. But by January, we're hearing it's going to go even worse than that. So how do you protect yourself from that? How do you protect your family from that? Whether you're my age, 41 or 71, what do you do? I strongly believe Walt can do that for you and show you how to do that.
One of the things I realize the industry I'm in and what I'm doing, which people really don't know, is there is more accountability in what I do with the companies I work with than any other companies and industry in the world. Wall Street could not care less.
Right.
I really don't.
Right. And that's the sad part about that is they're not there to save you or help you. They're there to make money for their own pocketbook versus you making the money. And we were having a discussion earlier before we got on this live show that Walt actually walked away from opportunities that he could have been a complete, he could be a complete asshole, but he walked away with integrity.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. There were some shenanigans in Wall Street in 2001, and I went, this is not for me anymore. And, to go down the road and assets under management. I mean, there are people that do that, AUM, that's fine and dandy, but that just wasn't something I wanted to do because I just saw all the shenanigans, I'll just use that word, that is in the industry. And it's not beneficial for anybody but the person that's managing the money. And it's typically at the client's expense, which doesn't sit well with me. So
there you go.
Anyway, so we've been going almost an hour.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to know more, again, no obligation, no cost, no fee, no headache, no hard hustle. My goal is just to educate you on options. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, great.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think last thing I'll say is anybody out there with talent, comedian, magician, musician, authors of books, it doesn't matter what your story is. If there's a story out there that's entertaining.
Yeah.
Anything that's entertaining the world needs to hear. Like I said, we had guests on here before with near-death experiences, comedians. Sadia was the girl, a lady who traveled the world. A TEDx talker, Repo Rick, Mark S. Berry, shout out to him as well. You guys have talent, you guys have a skill, a business you want to talk about. Hop on the show, get a hold of me or Walt, and let's get you on the show, get you out there, and let's let you guys get your spotlight you deserve, because we're here to do that. Make you guys literally like I said, the guest is the spotlight. It's all about you guys.
It is. And again, the website for the show is onairwithwalt.com. So you can reach us there as well. And obviously, like, share, and subscribe.
Yes. And guys, remember, On Air with Walt on YouTube.
Difference.
Yes. Remember, go to YouTube, guys. Please go to YouTube, On Air with Walt. Like it there, subscribe there. You can go to the website and enter your email in there on the sign-up list to get the newsletter. I put that out every time there's a show coming up. You have to check out. So make sure you enter your email there.
I'm going to make some phone calls and get some good guests lined up a couple of weeks. Last week was funny. It was just aliens, Anunnaki and aliens. Consistent.
That was awesome. That was cool.
It was fun.
I like that. So,
hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for viewing. We'll see you down the road. And again, contact us for whatever you need, and like, share, and subscribe. So, hey, Jeremy, we'll catch up down the road.
Take care.